అందరికీ నమస్కారములు. Today is the last final day of our classes and the series of lectures on Artha is being taught to us by Dr. Karanam Nagaraja garu. We had 3 classes out of total 4 classes. Today is the last class, and we will start the session by paying our respects to our country by reciting Vande Mataram, followed by Prarthana. Let us request Challa Chittibabu garu to recite Vande Mataram, please.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malaya Sitalam, Sasya Syamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram. Subrajyosna pulakitayaminim pullakusumita drumadala shobhinim suhasinim sumadhura bhashinim sukhadam varadam mataram vande mataram. Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. ధన్యవాదములండి చల్లా చిట్టిబాబు గారు. Thank you so much. Now let us request Manisha ji to chant Prarthana, please.
Let us meditate for just 1 minute. Omkar 3 times. गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम्। ॐ श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती दीनामवित्र्यवतु। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। गुरुरेव गति गुरुमेव भजे गुरुनैव सहास्मि नमो गुरवे। न गुरोः परमं शिशुरस्मि गुरो मतिरस्ति गुरो मां पाहि गुरो। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। मातृदेवो भव पितृदेवो भव आचार्यदेवो भव अतिथिदेवो भव। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्।
శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. హరి ఓం. ధన్యవాదములండి మనీషా గారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. నౌ లెట్ us request our Guruji, Dr. Karanam Nagaraja Rao garu, to start the webinar, please.
शुक्लां वरदरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्याये सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Good morning, all of you. Today is the final and the last lecture on Kautilya's Arthashastra. Kautilya's Arthashastra, while dealing with Kautilya's Arthashastra, is a mine of knowledge. So here, if you begin to enter into the picture, enter into the subject matter, we will be finding a lot of minds, a lot of things we will be finding, and we can't actually deviate from the subject matter. So intricate details are also he has mentioned in different places. Today also I will be trying to explain one or two only at least, because so many things are there. At the time of collection of taxes particularly, those aspects I will be discussing today. Anyway, in the first introduction class we gave introduction, second class we discussed something about administration aspects we discussed. Foreign policy also we discussed in the third class. In the mandala theory we discussed different kinds of shatrus we discussed and how to deal with those persons. Samadana, Samadana, Veda, Dandopayas, those things also we discussed. So in a way, broad way, Kautilya's Arthashastra, the important aspects we discussed. What are the elements of the states also we have discussed. Elements of the states, that is very much important for the purpose of understanding a state. Then what is a state government? These aspects. What is a nation and what is a state? This type of intricate details after discussing all these things. Foreign policy we have discussed in a leisurely fashion. We discussed mandala theory. That is very important theory in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Then today, of course, there are many other aspects are there, particularly the legal aspects, that how criminal law was operating in those days, how civil law was operating in those days. Those type of discussion could not be handled. Initially, I planned like that, but somebody in the last class asked about financial aspects, how financial administration was there in Kautilya's time, and what were there in mentioned in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Anyway, this subject is also an interesting subject. So I would like to discuss the financial administration as proposed by Kautilya in his Arthashastra. So this is before entering into different administrators, who are the administrators, who are the ministers who are in charge of Koshagara and all these things. I would like to mention the broad details. Kautilya's Arthashastra, what are the features, what are the objectives of Kautilya's taxation? So after discussing the objectives and the way it should function, then what we will discuss is that we will be discussing a few persons, important personalities who are responsible for replenishing the Koshagara. Then we will be discussing what are the taxes they were imposing. And then is it fair? Is it predictable or not? How people were feeling about the taxes? What was the implication of those taxes? This type of discussion. So it will be a coherent subject. It should flow in a certain fashion, so that there should not be any disturbance in between like that. One idea to other idea. Maybe here the objective is the king. Actually, he was telling that the king's duty is that he should collect taxes because without collecting the taxes there cannot be any kosha. Kosha means the treasury. Without a treasury, government cannot run. Without a treasury, king cannot protect the people. So treasury, replenishment of treasury is always the primary importance subject matter of the king. We were also discussing in the other class that the king has to divide his time, morning 8 parts and evening 8 parts like that. In one of the parts, in the morning, early morning itself, the discussion was first 1.5 hours. He has to discuss with his officials about the incomes and outflows. What are the income? What is the income that is coming into the system? What is the income that is going out of the system? This he has to discuss in the first initial day of his what is called his beginning of his day-to-day routine. This is also we discussed. So that much importance it has been given to that subject. So here Kautilya says that he only ripened economies means advanced economies only you need to collect the tax. Suppose if for that matter, say for that those days, what are the advanced economies and all this? Suppose a person, some persons are starting some sort of industry, maybe some mines, maybe in some other activity relating to agriculture, or some other activity or some other activity. Then if it is a starting phase, king is not supposed to collect the tax. So here nowadays we call it as tax holidays we call. So initially, special economic zones are created, wherein economic for some days of 5 years or so, even now also the system is there. We don't collect taxes, and electricity is free nowadays. For some days, water is free, telephone lines are free like that. So because to promote the entrepreneurship, we are doing those type of activities in current days. Kautilya foresees this aspect maybe long back, and he was advising the king that you are not supposed to collect the taxes from the unripened economy. This is one aspect, one of the objectives. Second objective is that you need to collect tax, but the collection of taxes is such that it should be progressive only. Cannot be suddenly you cannot put higher tax. Put some tax so that once people get stabilized to the tax, start increasing it in a slow fashion, not in a big way. This is one of the second other feature. The third feature is that he will be telling that whenever you collect tax, you should collect a tax like a bee. Bee will be falling on that flower and it will be taking out that madhu. It will be taking out without disturbing the rose. Similarly, the king has to take the money from the people so that he should not pinch the people's pocket. In that way, then this is how he was discussing all this. It should be whenever you collect a tax, it should be convenient to pay. It should be easy to calculate, and then it should be inexpensive to administer, equitable. It should not be distortive, and it should not inhibit growth. These are all the objectives he was actually taking himself for the purpose of king's administration. It should be convenient to pay, number one. That is very important. People should be having the convenience to pay for it. They should not feel the burden. It should be easy to calculate. That is also there because this should not be complicated, and it should be inexpensive to administer. Administration is also very much important for collecting the taxes. Then it should be equitable, and then it should not be it should not inhibit growth of the economy should not suffer because of the high taxation. That is what happened in Britishers time, no? Because when Kautilya was advocating 1/6 of the produce of the agriculture, that is there from the beginning of Mahabharata time onwards. We find the same thing, Mahabharata, and prior to that even Ramayana also we find that the taxation in India was 1/6 of the produce. That was the idea. So maybe here and there in times of emergencies it went up to 20%. 1/6 means it is 16%, maybe roughly 16 to 17% of the produce. It started increasing maybe in times of necessity, emergencies and all those things. It never exceeded 21% according to economists. But when Britishers came to India, because when you say 20%, you may feel that it is very much high. But compare it to some other system. When you compare it to some other system, when Britishers came to India, they started collecting both in Raitwari system and Zamindari system. All these systems, they were collecting the taxes to the tune of 50% to 70%. So what happened is that growth could not be there in the economy and growth suffered. That is called a Laffer curve, something like that they will be telling in economics. Okay, that we are not interested anyway. But here, what we say is that if you should not tax too much. This is one more thing. This is the idea of Kautilya's Arthashastra. Kautilya, he will be telling many other aspects also. We will be discussing some points I have written down here. Then he was telling that. 1 minute. Whenever you are collecting the taxes, and you should also be taking into consideration the people's aspect. Also, you should take into consideration. And he says that king should be providing. There are certain people who can't pay taxes. Those type of persons, king only should help. Maybe here, what are those persons are actually destitute women and woman without husband, and then children who could not earn. These type of persons, subsistence also should be given by the king. That is also he has mentioned. And in times of necessity like earthquakes, floods, diseases, and any other things is there. At the time also, it is a responsibility of the government to provide succor to all the people. This is also one of the ideas he has given. And one more important aspect of Kautilya's Arthashastra is that overall picture of Arthashastra is such that majority of the maybe industries or maybe agriculture and other areas are both owned by the private and also the public, and majority is the public. That is called the administration is by the central government only. So that is why some scholars depict Arthashastra as it is a bureaucratic welfare state they discuss. It is a bureaucratic welfare state. It is a welfare state wherein welfare activities are there, but it is strongly centralized and everything is in the hands of the king. So everything is in the hands of the king. For that, we will be discussing different administrators. We will be discussing today. So who are those administrators? All those administrators. If you see those administrators' names and all these things, you find that not even a single area of economic operation was left out by Kautilya. So he was discussing all areas. Maybe some only I have noted. Even that the few itself are very high. Many others I have not discussed. Some administrators. Let us see some administrators first. Then we will be discussing other aspects of Kautilya's Arthashastra. So here we will be discussing the very important persons, very important administrators in charge of this finance. This is called number one is basically in those days also Kautilya recognized that mines are the important activity from where you can get more money, mining activity. So here he is mentioning there is one superintendent or director who is called Akaradhyaksha. Akaradhyaksha is called director of mines. Akaradhyaksha. He just like that Akaradhyaksha, when he is appointing Akaradhyaksha, king is appointing Akaradhyaksha, king should take into consideration his knowledge aspects about the subject matter. That is also very much important, which we are not doing nowadays. We are simply appointing one minister without bothering whether this minister is having the ability to understand the subject matter or not. We are not seeing. He will be sitting there and he will be administering according to his own will and wish. That is how the system is running. But here it is not like that. Akaradhyaksha is supposed to have the knowledge of one is called Shulba Shastram. Shulba Shastram he is mentioning. What is Shulba Shastram? Shulba Shastram is a Shastram wherein the person should have the knowledge of different elements that are available, different what is called lohas, different other things which are available inside the earth, and he should perceive those things by seeing the earth and its aspects over the surface. That knowledge is called Shulba Shastram. Shulba Shastram is very important Shastram, it seems. Then Dhatu Shastram and Rasapakam. He should have. Rasapakam means how to actually take out the raw material, then how to make it boil, how to make it freeze, and how to extract the subject matter, so how to take out the metal. These type of things also he should have the knowledge. Shulba Shastram is basically a knowledge about metals below the earth. These type of things he should have. The knowledge he should have, and then only he should be in a position to see the earth surface, wherein whether the surface is having some sort of dust is there, or some sort of ash is there, or some coal material is there. From this, he should be in a position to understand what is the metal that is available inside, and he should exactly make the entire thing dug, and he should extract those things, and he should be in a position to make money for the kosha. This is the idea of Akara Adhyaksha. So the intricate details also is mentioned, how to identify these things, how to identify the stones, how to identify the dhatus, what are the colors of those things. Like this, he has discussed all these aspects. He will also be discussing, he will say one thing, Ahara Prabhavaha Koshaha. Ahara Prabhavaha Koshaha. Kosha Dandaha Praniyate. Prithvi Kosha Dandabhyam Prapyate Kosha. Kosha Bhushana, like that he mentions. Ahara Prabhavaha Koshaha, which means that treasury is born from the mines. Aharam is here, he's saying that it is actually mines. It is not necessarily aharam is food. Aharam is, it is mines. The treasury is born out of mines. Like this he says, Ahara Prabhavaha Koshaha. Kosha Dandaha Praniyate. The army is created out of the treasury. This is how Sham Shastri has translated this shloka, because sometimes Ahara he verified the dictionary Samskrita Kosha also, but here they nowhere we are finding the meaning it as a mine. But in those days maybe it is being used in that fashion. Ahara Prabhava Kosha means the treasury is born out of mines. And Kosha Dandaha Praniyate, the army is created out of the treasury. And Prithvi Kosha Danda Bhyam Prapyate. Prithvi and Kosha, these two things are actually the kingdom is obtained from the treasury and treasury of the army, treasury and the army, like that he discusses. And so that what is mentioned is that Kosha Bhushana. Kosha is actually ornamented to the state. So Kosha is ornamented to the state means it is very important essence to the state. And at the same time, for the purpose of the Kosha, this Adhyaksha, Akara Adhyaksha is very important person he will be mentioning. And here he in the mines, he will also be discussing that this Akara Adhyaksha is the director of mines. This mines, Kautilya is mentioning that whenever the mines activity is going on, if at all the mining activity is not so much productive, one thing, or if it is labor intensive, then just sell it out to private parties. Sell it out to private parties and you collect certain amount from those persons. This is the idea he is giving. Labor intensive things don't take. At the same time, if it is more expensive, don't take. You give it to some other private party. The private party will do that particular aspect, and whatever taxes that you can impose on them and to collect them. This is Akara Adhyaksha. Then we find out, of course, many other things about Akara Adhyaksha is there. Those things just we have to skip because we need to discuss many other aspects we have to discuss. And here the second important person is the Lavanadhyaksha. Lavanadhyaksha is the person, as you know, it is actually, it is not Lavanadhyaksha, Lakshanadhyaksha. Lakshanadhyaksha is actually, he is in charge of, Lakshanadhyaksha is in charge of coin preparation. This is actually coin printing and all these things. Here, Kautilya is mentioning about copper coins and silver coins he is mentioning, no other coins he is mentioning. And the different, what is called like our rupee, and this is 50 paise coin, 25 paise coins, anas and all these is earlier denominations are there. No? Like that he is also tankas, panas, like that he has discussed those aspects which we are not very much interested. So Lakshanadhyaksha is in charge of the coins and also to preparation of the coins and coin making unit he has to prepare. And when the coin making unit is prepared, he should not allow any other person to enter into that subject in that area. If at all any person is entering into that area, he has to be checked thoroughly while coming, and he has to be checked thoroughly while going out also. This is called what we can call Lakshana Adhyaksha. He is basically responsibility is to prepare this coins and all these things. This is called a Lakshana Adhyaksha. Then there is one more person over and above this Lakshana Adhyaksha who is called Rupaka Darshaka. Rupaka Darshaka is one person in charge of he is see the quality whether the Lakshana Adhyaksha has done the coins in the same quality that is actually designed by the king. So he has to check all those aspects, check the quality of the coins. He has to check whether ingredients are used in a proper fashion or not. This is the aspect of Rupaka Adhyaksha. Then we come across a Lavanadhyaksha. Lavanadhyaksha is called preparation of salt and all these things. Here also so many taxes are collected from if what or any other person from outside the kingdom is coming and is selling the this lavana. Yeah, how much is to be charged? If it is actually sold prepared by private parties, how much it is to be charged? These type of things are designed by Lavanadhyaksha. They believe it or not, this Lakshanadhyaksha, that is person who is in charge of printing the coins, that aspect is not given to the private property, private people. So even then also it was there. It is a monopoly of the public sector only. It is not given to the private sector. But Lavanadhyaksha and other persons, private sector is also there. But private sector is also being supervised by this Lavanadhyaksha. That is the irony of the system. Here the what is called the thoroughness with which the king is supervising, king or the state is supervising the entire economic activity is such that even though it is given to private parties, it is also being supervised by the government officials. This is called Lavanadhyaksha. Then we come across Suvarnadhyaksha. Suvarnadhyaksha, as you know, it is actually a person who is in charge of Suvarna. That is, Suvarna is actually gold and other things. So he has to see the gold, silver. Then he has to the different types of gold is also mentioned. So out of curiosity, I'm telling. So here this Suvarna is also of different types. Jambunadam, Shantakumbam, Hatakam, Vainavam, Shrungi Suktijam, Jatarupam, Rasaviddham, Akarodgatam, Chasuvarnam, like that he mentions. That is called even the gold. Normally, when we see the gold as gold only. But here he will be mentioning that it is not like that. This is also there are certain gold which is very in high quality. There is some other Suvarna which is less inferior quality, and the less inferior quality, like that he actually delineated the subject also. The knowledge of Kautilya is such that he knows the intricate aspects of each and every item. That is the greatness of Kautilya. Jambunadam means the Suvarna that is available in the Jambu Nadi area. Jambu Nadi, where it is there, I don't know. Then Shatakumbham is, it is actually Shatakumbha Parvatam. Then Parvatam he has mentioned in the Shatakumbha Parvatam area, there is one gold is one type of gold is available. That is certain properties he has mentioned for that. Jambu Nadi, certain properties he has mentioned. Then Jambunadam, Shatakumbham, Hatakam. Hatakam is also one actually a hill from where this Suvarna is born. Then Venu Parvatam, that is one more aspect. Shrungi Shukti is actually one Suvarna Bhumi. This is a Suvarna Bhumi he mentions, from where the Shrungi Shukti gold is there. And there is some gold which is naturally available, some gold which is prepared out of this rasayanas and all these things. There is Suvarna which is normally available in the mines in the state itself. This type of different kinds of this Suvarna is also mentioned by Kautilya. Many other aspects are there. Of course, all these things, if you begin to discuss, it is difficult to discuss. Even only Suvarna Adhyasha alone will be taking one class. Then he will also be discussing this how to distinguish which is good gold and which is bad gold. and how to identify whether any other aspect and other thing has been added into the gold. So that for that also this pariksha, how to verify whether this gold is nowadays what we can call 24 carat, 22 carat, 18 carat, like that we will be telling. No? For that we will be having different missions and all these things which establish the quality of the gold. In those days he will be establishing, he will be telling in different other methods by heating the gold, by putting certain items over the gold. These type of things also he has discussed. All these things he has to take into consideration. And this gold is a private activity, is also private people also allowed to do this activity, and government also will be doing this activity. And Suvarnadhyasha will be imposing penalty, also penalty, taxes and all these things, also penalty for the persons who are violating the rules and regulations, and taxes for those persons who are preparing this activity according to the rules of the government. This also has mentioned. Then we can come across one more important director who is called Kupyadhyaksha. Kupyadhyaksha means he is in charge of the items that are brought from the forest. He is in charge of the director of forests. Forest is actually because Kautilya is overseeing all the economic activities which are available in the country. Kupyadhyaksha. Kupyadhyaksha is actually 1 minute. And this is actually each Adhyaksha is mentioned in 10 pages, 15 pages, like that. Because of this reason, all these the things are spread in different areas. It is spread. So here also Kupyadhyaksha, he will be mentioning different materials that are available out of the forest. Sometimes we also don't imagine all these things. Normally we will be imagining only fodder, some fruits, vegetables, and also some flowers, and maybe some other items which may be there, maybe what is called honey. Beyond that, imagination may not go beyond that. But here he will be mentioning different types of animals from where the skin also can be taken out, and dead animals only. He was not, Kautilya was never asking the king to see what is called killing of the animals for the purpose of taking out their skin. Only dead animals' skin has to be extracted. And if anybody is actually violating this rule and taking out fraudulent fashion, 1,000 tankas is the penalty. That the penalty is very much high. In each and every area, penalty is very much high. Like our Dubai area where we go, for each and every violation of the rule, high tax will be imposed. Because in order to instill what we can call fear among the people, that is also very much important. Here, he will be mentioning all these things. And he will be mentioning about the Visham. Visham means poison, different types of poisons here. He is mentioning maybe roughly 10 to 15 types of poisons he has mentioned. All these poisons, different types of what we can call Kalakuta, Vatsanaba, Hala, Meshashrunga, Musta, Kushta, Mahavisha, Velitaka, Gaurardra, Balaka, Markata, Haimavata, Kalingaka, Daradika, Angola Saraka, Ushtakadini, Vishani, like that. All these things are why I am telling all these things is that just we should have a knowledge that Kautilya was having such a insight in each and every area. He was not leaving anything, and each and everything. Then he was also mentioning about other things which are available in what is called forest. And if at all, forest is also allowed for both private people and public people. And if at all any private person is operating the forest, in charge of the forest, this Kupyadhyasha will be in charge of that person also. He will be collecting tax from that person also. And every year the tax is fixed for all the private people. And all the private people need to pay that tax depending upon the size of the forest and the material that is available in the forest. It is already fixed, the tax is fixed, and Kupyadhyasha's responsibility is to collect the taxes for the purpose of the treasury. This is called Kupyadhyasha. And one more aspect is that, and from this forest, many things are available. Many raw material, many types of raw material will be available. So what to do with all those raw material? So it is the responsibility of the Kupyadhyasha to establish factories also for those purposes and to process all those items and ensure that these processed items are sent to the kingdom to keep in the king's treasury. Like that, this is also one of the area of Kupyadhyaksha. And Sauvarnika also he mentions one more person. Sauvarnika is actually nowadays we call him as a Kamsari or goldsmith, and he is also on the rolls of the government only. The goldsmith will be available all the time throughout. He will be available depending upon the requirement, demand by the people in the Janapada. He is supposed to prepare ornaments and all these things, and he has to give those ornaments to the people in the scheduled prescribed time. He has to give. If he is not giving in the scheduled, he will also be given salary by the state. And if he is not working properly, and penalty is always there. Suppose then he says, that is why he says kalati patane padahinam vetanam. So suppose his salary is fixed, 100 rupees salary is fixed. Kalati patane, suppose he is not delivering the product to the people in time, prescribed time, then 1/4 of his salary will be cut. Kalati patane padahinam vetanam. Tad vigunasya dandaha. So like that, tad vigunasya dandaha. Then the danda, that is called punishment, will be twice. Karyasya anyasya athakarane. So if he is doing something which is not according to the prescribed fashion, somebody is asking for a golden ring in a certain material design. If he is preparing the ring in a certain other fashion, then because he is doing in a right path, then vetana nashaha, he has to lose his entire salary. Tad vigunasya dandaha. Then punishment will be, physical punishment will be twice to that. So he, in that way, he will be mentioning different varieties of punishment also he will be mentioning. And each and every area, tax is there, penalty is there, tax is there, penalty is there. Like that it goes like that in each and every area. That we need to understand. And one more thing is that he has to purchase the weighing machines. From where? Again, the weighing machines preserved by the king in what is called the weighing and machines department is from where there only he has to purchase. And if at all any defective machines he is using, means tax is imposed over him. Like that, these are the things which Kautilya is anticipating all these things. Then we come across Koshtagara Adhyaksha. Koshtagara is actually warehouse, what we can call nowadays. Superintendent of warehouses, and granary. This is one more area where king will be taking into taking very careful attention. And how the granary has to be preserved, because sometimes there will be flow of these items, that is called different grains. Sometimes it will be very more and more grains are forthcoming, and it is difficult for the people to preserve all those items in their respective houses. So what they should do, they will be losing more money, they will be losing. So instead of that, Kautilya says that let the people come here and put their entire item grains in the granary preserved by the kingdom. So here granary is there is one person who is in charge of that area, which is called Koshtagara Adhyaksha. And what he will be doing is, each and every farmer who is coming to him, he weighs the entire grain and keeps the entire grain. The quality of the grain is fixed: A quality, B quality, C quality. 3 types of qualities he has prescribed, and 3 qualities. According to the 3 qualities, he will be preserving this entire grain in that particular area, meant for A class, B class, C class, like that. And once the farmer wants to take it back, and he will be giving it back. Otherwise, the king only will be purchasing all those things, and he will be using the entire grain according to his own fashion, because he will be selling it, or he will be preserving certain thing for the purpose of the army and other people, and certain things he will be putting it for the purpose of any disasters. Any disasters or unforeseen events are coming up, he will be doing that. He has to use this grain for that purpose. So this is one more area he will be taking care of. So granary maintenance. And then in the system of Kautilya's time, everybody was not paying this all the taxes in cash. They will be paying either in cash or in kind or in labor. These are 3 ways they were paying the taxes. One is called labor. Labor means, suppose a king is imposing some tax over me. Then if I cannot pay the tax, what I do? I don't have the money also to pay. Cash is not there. I don't have anything to pay in grain, something like in kind. That is called grains also, I cannot pay. In that situation, what I am expected to do is that I can go to the place and I can give my labor only. And labor for maybe 5 days, 6 days, whatever it may be, depending upon the quantum which I need to pay, depending upon that I need to work there and I need to pay the tax. In that way, all the three ways it is mentioned. So here somebody is paying in kind. Somebody is paying in by way of paddy. Somebody is paying by way of some other wheat, whatever it may be. Then what the king is supposed to do, the quality he has to check. This Koshtagara Adhyaksha has to see the quality. He has to weigh all those things, take them from them, and then he has to preserve in the granary. Granary is actually constructed much above the land area, and then it should not be, water should not be there nearby. 3-4 grains should not be there together, because suppose a fire is going to happen, entire thing will be lost. So they should be spread in different areas. The distance also Kautilya has mentioned, how much distance each and every granary should be there, like that. So he is in charge of the granary. Here he has mentioned many things he has mentioned. Let me see if at all anything is there, I will see. The important aspect is that important shloka is there. I will just see. I have noted them. And when the Koshtagara Adhyaksha is also in charge of what we can call, he is also overseeing the activities of Sita Adhyaksha. One more gentleman is there. Sita Adhyaksha is a person who is in charge of the agricultural activity. Sitadhyaksha Upanitaha, Sitadhyakshaha Upanitaha, Sasya Varnakaha Sita, like that he mentions. Sita means here, Sita means the meaning of Sita is grain, Sita. Sasya Varnakaha Sita. Sita Adhyaksha is the person who collects taxes from these grains. So that is called Sita Adhyaksha. He will be collecting tax over the grains in kind, and that entire thing he will be bringing it to Koshtagara Adhyaksha. Koshtagara Adhyaksha is again reporting back to the treasury person. So Koshtagara Adhyaksha is actually collecting this from the different areas from the kingdom. Whichever is coming in kind, the Sita Adhyaksha will be bringing it, and the Koshtagara Adhyaksha is preserving all those things after checking the quality, weighing and all these things, then he will be keeping it like this. Then he will be keeping it for different purposes, as I told, maybe for the army, for the sake of imminent disasters. Like this, he has to delineate all those things and he has to mention and he has to preserve all those things. Then how to preserve also he has mentioned. Suppose granary, all items are coming inside. Then what are the preservatives that are to be used for the purpose of maintaining the quality in the same fashion for a so many number of days or so many number of months, whatever it may be. Then he will be telling that what is to be done. Each and everything he has mentioned. Because maybe if we read Kautilya's Artha, we may be in a position to understand how to preserve our grains also in the houses. That knowledge we may get. That is one thing which because he has mentioned some of the things which are available in the houses only. From there, how to prepare these preservatives and how to use these preservatives to make these things remain constant in the same fashion for a number of days. All these things he has mentioned, and then and he was also mentioning that if at all any the quality of the grain which is coming in is not so great, then what it should be done. Then what he is telling is that those things are to be given to elephants, horses, and all these things. What is the quality of the grains which are to be given to the king? He has mentioned separately. That is, once the grain comes, he will be delineating it ABC. The A quality will be going to the king, and the C quality, and C quality again 3 varieties. The third quality will be going to the elephants, and then the second quality again there it will be going to the horses, like that he has mentioned. Then what is to be fed to the camels and donkeys and all these things which is to be given and what proportion it is to be given also Kautilya has mentioned. To that extent, all these things are in charge of this Kosta. He has to oversee all these activities. And if anybody is actually violating the rules and regulations, taxes are there and penalties are also there. This is what we can call the greatness of Kosta. Processing of fruits, vegetables, sugar cane from the skilled workers. Who are the skilled workers? Where they are available? He is mentioning that you have to it is a responsibility of the Costa Decha to identify the skilled workers. And if skill is not there, he has to impart the skill to the persons who are living in the jail. If somebody is in the prison is there, all the prison inmates are to be taken out, give the skill training for them and make them work for this purpose like that. They are called Simhanika, like that he has mentioned, Simhanika. So the Simhanikas will be coming there and they will be doing the activity for the purpose of the state. So each and every Adhyaksha, Koshtagara Adhyaksha, Suvarna Adhyaksha, Akara Adhyaksha, whoever he may be, he will be having the discretion to call the people from the prison, make them skillful in that particular area of activity and they need to work there. Like that it is mentioned, Koshtagara Adhyaksha. Then we come across one more important activity of the state is called Panadhyaksha. Panadhyaksha is one person who is actually in charge of trading activity. The trading activity is actually he has to overseeing the trading. That is called what is coming inside. What is called what the king is exporting to some other countries. What is he is importing to this country? This aspect he has to take into. He is supervising this activity, trade and other things, and also he will be overseeing the activities of the merchants who are coming from outside the country and doing the activity inside the country. This also he will be overseeing. And then once they are, whenever this trading is being done, he has mentioned that it should not offend or pinch the purses of the common people. There should not be any klesham for these people. And he will also be mentioning that those which are daily nitya avasara padarthas are there. No, those type of things will not be penalized. They will not be. Suppose something is coming inside the country, normally customs tax will be there. The customs tax will not be there for those things which are coming for the purpose of marriage purpose. Anything which is coming from outside the country for the purpose of doing this daiva karyas and vivahas and anything which is coming inside for the purpose of welfare activities of the people and anything which is coming inside the country for the purpose of the this is called day-to-day activities of the people, nitya avasara. All these things are not taxed by the king. This is also one of the aspects which has mentioned. So this is called this is the area Panadhyaksha. Then and how to present, how to do this activity has mentioned so many things he has mentioned here. Then we come across Pautanadhyaksha. Pautanadhyaksha is actually superintendent of weights and measures. He actually once in a month he weights and measures that instruments he will be maintaining all those things. He will be supplying these weights and measures to different other departments. And once in 4 months, he has to weigh the accuracy of the instruments and put seals of approval for all these things. And he has to send those missions only the sealed missions only he has to send to different persons like that. Pautanadhyaksha is one person. Then Shulkadhyaksha. The Shulkadhyaksha is a person who is a collector of customs which are coming inside. He will be collecting. He will be reporting to this Koshtagara Adhyaksha. Panyadhyaksha he will be reporting. This Shulkadhyaksha, he will be actually in charge of things which are coming inside the state. So he will be taking care of those activities. He will be mentioning the shulka which he has to pay. Shulka he has to pay. And shulka exceptions and all these things he has to take into consideration. And any poisonous item is coming inside or any other things are coming inside, he should not allow it. If any medicinal things are coming inside the country, he may allow it without tax also. medicines, the things which are necessary for the purpose of preparing the medicines, he may allow without tax also. If any Vishapadarthas are coming, he should not allow it inside the country. That is called Shulka Adhyaksha. Then we come across Sutradhyaksha. Sutradhyaksha is actually the person in charge of superintendent of yarns and textiles, like that it is translated. Yarns and textiles means his duty is to ensure that the what is called the thread is prepared, and once the thread is prepared from different areas, maybe that pattu, what we can call, what is called silk, and also from the bark of trees, and also from many other forest items, how to take out this aloe vera also we take out the threads, taking out the threads, and also preparing the vastrams. Vastram means cloth preparation. This is Sutra Disha in charge of this yarns and textiles. And his duty is to get the cloths prepared for the king and other people also, and ropes, etc., for the purpose of army activities. And then all these activities, how he has to do, he has to get it done by destitute people, ladies in the presence, and the mothers of prostitutes, devadasis, etc. All these persons are to be engaged in these activities. And these type of persons are private persons. They may not be having interest in doing these activities. Some people may come or may not come. So in order to attract those persons, it is allowed for the Sutra Dhyasha to give certain incentives. Incentives are attractive things. Maybe what we can call nowadays some sort of chocolates, like that. He can give it garlands to those persons. He can give scents. He can give attractive things to those persons to keep them happy. He need to see that, ensure that they are very, very happy, and at the same time they will be willingly in a position to do this type of activity, because sutra, that this is actually a work which can be done by those type of persons according to Kautilya. And one more thing is that at the same time, if at all any offensive things they may do towards these ladies, that is also there. He has mentioned so much clearly. He mentions that Sutra Dhyasha has to do one aspect. One thing is that Sutra Dhyasha has to appoint certain officials who will be checking the quality of the thread that is prepared by the lady, and he has to check the quality of the cloth that is prepared by the ladies. And the ladies, maybe he has to pay the salary for those persons, and all these activities he has to ensure. And suppose he says that, Kautilya says that, suppose these ladies, sometimes they may come to this Sutra Dhyasha area only, they may come. Normally, the Sutra Dhyasha's purpose is that Sutra Dhyasha is supposed to send the raw material to the houses of these persons. And once everything is done, he has to collect all those things to the government. And this is the broad way of operation. But thing is, sometimes these ladies may come to the Sutra Dhyasha place. At that time, he says that only Sutra Dhyasha has to keep the light, that is called, the light should be in such a way that the light should ensure it is enough to see the product and not see the face of the lady, like that he mentions. Striya Mukhasandarsane Anya Karya Sambhashayam va Purva Sahasa Dandaha, like that he mentions. So suppose if he sees a face by chance, any other means, suppose she comes in the night, or she comes early morning, 4 o'clock, something of that nature, then which means that when he is mentioning like this, we have to presume that this Sutra Dhyasha will be operating around the clock. If these ladies are going to come like that, and he has to keep the light which is enough to see the product and not the face of the lady. Suppose if he sees the lady's face, and he should not talk anything other than the product. If he talks anything other than the product, he has to penalize with 1,000 tankas. He has to pay 1,000 tankas. He has to pay. That is for that purpose. Spice will be there. The spice will be supervising, and if they report, they need to report to the king that he is talking something, some other thing he is talking. Whatever subject, whatever that may be, if he talks like that, he should be penalized, like that he says. This is just the entire shloka is also there. Entire shloka is like, what is this shloka? Because out of interest, just like that, I am telling this one. 241 somewhere it is there. I have written some place I have written. Anyway, Striya Mukasandarsane Anya Karya Sambhashayam va Purvaha Sahasadandha Vetana Kalatipate Madhyamaha. Suppose Vetana Kalatipata Madhyamaha. Suppose if he is talking something, then Sahasa Danda, some sort of danda, so that is actually prescribed that he has to pay. That is, he is mentioning as 1,000 tankas. Vetana Kalatipate Madhyamaha. Suppose he is paying their salaries after the defined date, then he should be penalized again. The person has to be penalized. Then one more aspect is that Akruta Karma Vetana Pradhanecha. That is also there. Akruta Karma Vetana Pradhanecha, which means that the lady is not doing the activity. He needs to do some favor for her and he pays salary for her even without collecting the product. In that case also he should be penalized like that it is there. So this penalty is always there for this adhyakshas also. So adhyakshas activities are overseen by the king through what is called spice and other persons who are there. Spice also he has mentioned different kinds of spice he has mentioned. That also we come across in future. The spice are actually there are some spice who will be working as who will be coming there as the consumers. They will be coming and they will be consumers. They will be coming and they will be interacting with the Sutra Adhyasha or any other Adhyasha for that matter. And those persons also are also reporting to the king. There are some persons who are working in the same department only. Again, they are spies. They are not actually doing this Sutra Adhyasha work. They also will be reporting back. This is called visual blowers will be there in each and every place. And there are some persons who are overseeing the mendicants. Like that, there are some persons will be there and they will also be watching the aspects of all these persons and they will be reporting back to the king. This is called Sutra Adhyaksha. Time I will see. It is 7:28 only, no problem. And then Sita Adhyaksha we discussed already. Then Sura Adhyaksha, this is one more important activity. And Kautilya says that after mines, this is one more important area from where you can get lot of money for the purpose of treasury. So here also he has mentioned different types of liquors. Also he has mentioned 6 types of liquors. He has mentioned those type of things I am not discussing. So 6 types of liquors and what is the quality of each and every type of liquor. How much tax is to be collected? Normally it is 5% of the tax for the preparation of this surah. And if anybody, it is also both private activity and also public activity. It's a mix. And private, even though it is some private people are also preparing surah, those persons are also supervised by the surah adhyaksha in order to check the quality and all those things. Suppose they are selling the liquor without the knowledge of the state, then 60% of the collection on that day is to be taxed. And that is called manavyajini. They suppose weighing is something, weighing means the measuring of that surah is something wrong way. He is measuring 16% of the tax is to be collected over him. And if he is Hiranyavajini means if he is selling that item in a higher rate, whatever it may be, then it be beyond the normal prescribed rate, then 20% has to be charged like that it is mentioned. Suradhyaksha has to take care of these type of activities. Then one more activity which Kautilya is telling is that Ganika Adhyaksha. Ganika Adhyaksha is in charge of prostitute houses. Superintendent of instead of that prostitute houses, and it is translated as the superintendent of courtesans like that he has mentioned. And Ganika, she is a Ganika. Initially, this Ganika Adhyaksha has to invest some 1,000 panas and he has to bring the Vesya, that is called the very beautiful Vesya he has to bring to the court. And the duty of the Vesha is that to entertain all the people in the court and also the king like that. And for that, the 1,000 rupees has to be deposited to the mother, and he has to bring that lady. And then these people are mentioned as Rupa Jiva, like that it is mentioned. The salary of the prostitute is also defined. The salary of the mother is also mother of the prostitute is defined. And this Vesha suddenly is not there for any reason. Then the mother is supposed to send one more lady she has to send, that is called, the name is also as mentioned. What is that? Ganika somewhere it is written. The substitute, of course, the substitute he has to send. That lady has to come like that, and then there are this Vaishyas also depending upon their age and also their their soundaryam, that is called beauty and all these things. They are also distinguished in three ways. The first persons will be in charge of king's chhatra, that is called, is king is going at the time, chhatra will be wearing person, that is person who is taking the umbrella, that type of lady will be one person. And there is one person who is giving this pan and all this to the king, one more type of lady. And there are some persons who is actually preparing his bed and other aspects, that there is some other person who is there. There are some prostitutes who are early morning, waking up the king by some sort of Ghana and all these things. There are some other persons are there. Different types of persons are mentioned. Their salaries are also mentioned. And if anybody is misusing this Vaishyas, tax has to be paid. How much tax each and every person has to pay. This is also the duty of the Ganika Adhyaksha. Ganika Adhyaksha has to taking care of all these activities. And these Vaishyas are also used for the purpose of destroying the enemies. Sometimes king will be employing these ladies for the purpose of state interest. Then he will be sending this honey trapping. This honey trapping is there. This honey trapping purpose he has to send these ladies. Suppose this lady, any lady is refusing to go according to the wishes of the king, then king has to penalize that lady by withholding the salary for that month. And one more thing is that then these are the persons who are working in the court. There are some prostitutes who are not working in the court. They are outside. They are doing the activities of prostitute houses. In the prostitute houses, if they are there, they have to pay. The prostitute house has to pay. Every day they have to maintain records. In the records, they have to mention what is the amount that they have received. And at the end of the month, this Ganika Adhyaksha has to see each and because he will be employing, there also spice will be there. There also then one employee of the Suradhyaksha will, Ganika Adhyaksha will be there in each and every prostitute house. He has to ensure that the records are maintained in a pakka fashion, which means that what is the income that has come to the prostitute house on any day like that. So in average, 30 days average will be taken into consideration, and 2 days that entire thing has to be paid to the government. That is called Rupa Jivaha Bhoga Dvayagunam Manam Dadyuhu, like that he has mentioned, like that. 2 days of their income has to be paid to the king as a tax, like that it is mentioned. So this activity is also being supervised by Ganika Adhyaksha, who is also paid employee of the government. Then we come across Navadhyaksha. Navadhyaksha is in charge of the ships and all these things. This is one more area. Like that, he has mentioned many other areas. He has mentioned each and every activity, and from the each and every factory, each and every agricultural activity. All these areas, there will be one Adhyaksha will be there who will be supervising this activity. He will be imposing taxes on those persons who are working according to the rules and regulations, and he will be imposing penalties for those persons who are violating these taxes. So in this way, broadly speaking, Kautilya's Arthashastra, this is actually, nowadays we will be calling it as widening of the tax base. So which means that we need to each and every year government will be trying to impose taxes on different areas which are not taxed earlier. So like this, Kautilya has also seen many areas in the economic system. In all these areas, he is trying to appoint this central administrator. And this same thing is repeated in the provinces also. Suppose king is going to conquer some other provinces where provincial administrator is there, he has to oversee all these activities by appointing all these persons. This is the idea. This is actually some sort of mixed economy wherein private enterprise and the state enterprise frequently they sometimes they are competed side by side in maybe in agriculture, animal husbandry, forest produce, mining, manufacturing, trade, all these activities. So all these activities, all the persons will be there and they will be supervising these activities. And Mines are actually, majority of the mines are state owned only, and few which are not economically viable and labor intensive, as I told earlier, are given out for private parties. And always the principle of taxing not too high and not too low, that principle is always maintained in different other aspects also it is mentioned. And agricultural taxes, as I told, it is actually 1/6 of the agricultural income is taxed, and rest the temples are not taxed, of course, and Gurukul lands are not taxed, and they are exempt from all penalties. This is the broad thing which is there. Then there also and one more aspect which I have forgotten is that the intricate eyes of this Kautilya has went so deep that suppose ladies are there, if they are pregnant, if any abortion is done, it is treated as good as it is a death or the killing of the person only. So in that case, if abortion is happened, tax is to be paid those persons. So abortion is also not allowed, which is there nowadays. Also the rule is there. Abortion after maybe 6 weeks or whatever it may be. I think I don't know exactly. I don't know the details, but there is some rule is there that is called Bruna Hatya. Bruna Hatya is actually it is a penalty. So in those days itself, Arthashastra also has mentioned that a penalty should be imposed, and the amount collected from that entire area has to be paid to the treasury. The treasury person, of course, is a very important person who is taking care of whatever income that is coming across the state from different places, and he has to maintain the records. And maintaining of the record is very, very important. Pakka records he has to maintain, and the records are to be, he should be having expertise in such a fashion that if king asks, he needs to show the records for 100 years, like that it is mentioned. So 100 years records he is supposed to preserve like that. This is how he will be telling. Kautilya will be telling. So this is actually that is why some economists say that it is actually a bureaucratic welfare state, wherein bureaucracy is always there supervising these activities. At the same time, the bureaucracy is actually, bureaucracy cannot function like the bureaucracy as we normally know, like Max Weber theory. It is not like that. These persons are also accountable. Accountable bureaucracy is also accountable. At the same time, for each and every bureaucrat, the spies are employed. And spies will be always watching the activities of these bureaucrats, and people also can always give a complaint against the bureaucrats. There is actually a system wherein if any person is going to exceed the limits, immediately there are three judge bench will be there all the time. The three judge bench is always available to the public and also to any other person. Anybody can come there and give a complaint, and these persons will be investigating the entire matter, and they will be doing justice to those persons. So three judges bench is also there, and this is one aspect. And then appealing aspect, then appealing procedure is also there, and bookkeeping is a very important activity. And the main objective, as I told from the beginning, is that he should collect taxes like honeybee collecting the taxes that is there, and the ripening economy only should be taxed, and it should be taxed whenever it is decided upon. It is actually a proportionate, that is basing upon the capacity to pay and ability to pay, that should be taken into consideration. Predictability should be there. Predictability means when the king is going to come for collecting the tax, which means that maybe normally at the time of harvesting time, the king will be coming for a collection of the tax, and it should be very, very transparent, because it is already defined one only, because the people will be knowing in advance how much tax he has to pay to the king, and it should be convenient to collect also, to efficient methods, so that tax burden is minimized. Then tax evasion, if at all any excessive tax evasion is there, there should be penalized. He says that, Kautilya says that it will lead to economic decline will be there. So he should not impose excessive taxes also. He will not impose. So that is even now also the principle is there. I was mentioning in the beginning of the lecture that there is called what is called Laffer curve. Laffer curve you can type in Google, you can come across instead of I wanted to show this because time is very less. Laffer curve means Laffer, Laffer curve. The persons who are familiar with economics, they know it. The persons who are not familiar with economics, they need to Google it and see it. Laffer curve, which means that beyond a certain point, if taxes are very much high, productivity will be reducing because people will be running away from the country. People will not do any economic activity. So taxes are more. What will happen? That is what happened in the Raitwari system in the British people. Britishers were imposing 70% of the taxes. Then who will cultivate the land? People were not cultivating the land. That is why only famines came in Britishers' time. Majority of the famines, roughly 120 famines, are recorded in Indian history at the time of Britishers, which were not so high in earlier days. Even when medieval times also, when medieval kings were ruling, kings means the Muslims and other persons were ruling the entire country. At the time also famines were not so frequent. But famines were very much frequent at the time of Britishers because the taxation was very much high, that is up to 70%. So when that is the case, people were not doing any economic activity. So the entire economy suffered like this. And you believe it or not, out of the way I am telling, in 1857, according to estimates, Indian gross domestic product, it is called, that is actually measured as 80% of the world. 80% of the world gross domestic product is available in India only, like that. And what happened is that at the time of Britishers leaving India, 1947, it has come down to 2%. And Europe and America put together, which were actually having 20% put together at that time, it has grown to 80% for the gross domestic product, 80% of the total world gross domestic product, like that. So Britishers and Americans, of course, progressed like anything, and Indians suffer like anything because our productivity has in 1857 it is not 80%, it is 20% of the world domestic product, which has come down to 2% by the end of 1947. So 20% to 2% we have come down. They have grown from 20% to 80%, they have grown. So like that, that is why they very famously they say that the cloth is put on the Ganga Jal and it is actually taken out, and Ganga Jal is actually put there in Thames River, like that. The entire whatever that is taken out from Ganges area is put in the Thames area, like that. One good sentence is there which I could not recollect immediately. Like that, this is mentioned in the economists and historians, they will be mentioning this one. Anyway, like that. So whatever that is available in India is taken out to other countries. The excessive taxation, the Laffer curve works like that. So this Kautilya anticipated long back, and he says that it should not be, taxes should not be very much high. And record keeping is also, as mentioning, very summarization I am doing. Record keeping actually it is multiple record keeping. And also one more thing is that the rotation of officials is also he has mentioned. Official which is in the place of Surajyacha will be going as Lavanadyacha or Lakshanadyacha, like that. And surprise inspections by the state officials he has mentioned. And severe penalties if at all they are transgressing their duties. All these things Kautilya has mentioned. Treasury management has also mentioned. Treasury, how it should be managed, how the treasury is to be built, how they should be put in one place. The treasury superintendent, of course, I have not told. His name is called Sannidhata. That Sannidhata is a treasury superintendent. He is a very important personality in the entire administration, economic administration structure. That person will be safeguarding the funds of the kingdom, and he will be giving it according to king is also taking a certain salary only. The salary, it is not just like that he cannot take the entire kosha. And the kings, how much king can take, that is prescribed. How can prince can take, it is prescribed. How much kings the mother can take, it is mentioned. How much queens of the king can take every month, this is also mentioned. All these things are also mentioned. And it is not just like that king can take the entire kosha, he cannot take it. All these things are inbuilt dharmic principles which are there in Artha Shastra. And one more important aspect of Kautilya's Arthashastra is that this nowadays we talk about the planning and all this is. So this for this purpose also we can see, instead of mentioning this planning, that particular word, we can see the implications of planning in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Kautilya talks about the regular expenditure, which is there every day. The administration of salaries how much, military how much, maintenance of people and public works. This is called a regular expenditure. This is foreseeing development of expenditure, which is called development of infrastructure projects, dams, and other economic activities like putting trees for the purpose of shelter, and all this is developmental activities as mentioned. And then he is also saying that it is emergency expenditure. So for all these things, provision has to be made by the government, he has mentioned, which means that some sort of planning is definitely it is there. Emergency expenditure is there, funds reserved for the purpose of some calamities, wars, and unforeseen economic circumstances. In those type of things, this amount should be preserved for that purpose. This amount should be preserved for the purpose of developmental activities, and this amount has to be put for the purpose of regular expenditure. Like that, he has foreseen all these activities. And he was also mentioning some sort of what we can call nowadays current account, savings account. These type of things also we can glean from Arthashastra, that he will be maintaining this current account aspect. Instead of mentioning current account, that wording is not there. But all these things are inbuilt in Kautilya's Arthashastra. And Kautilya was also advocating that whenever state is spending some money, it should be productive spending only. That is the main principle. Productive spending means, and the state funds should be primarily directed toward activities which generate future incomes, future revenues. That should be there. Suppose king is spending some amount of money for the purpose of certain area, and he should have in mind that over a period of years he should be giving out certain income to the kingdom. That is more important. So this is how the system should operate. And there will be, and Kautilya Arthashastra very clearly mentions that there should not be any deficit budget at any point of time. Whatever income that is there, spending also to that extent only. Nowadays, the principle is totally changed. The more we take the debt, the more we are progressing country, like that we say like that. That is not the good idea according to Kautilya. Kautilya says that whatever income is there, out of that income only, you need to, each and every economic activity should be sustainable only. Sustainable economic activity always he was promoting, not taking debts from other places. Debt is mentioned, of course, in times of emergencies. Kautilya says that you need to take a loan from the rich people of the country only, not from outsiders. Rich people of the country only you need to take. And for that also, he has mentioned how much what is called how much he has to pay back. What we can call is interest. How much interest you need to pay to the rich merchant, that is also mentioned. Once the emergency is over, he has to give back the entire thing to the rich person and then clear the debt only. Clearing of the debt is more important. Maintaining the debt at one place and promoting welfare activities is not envisaged by Kautilya. He was always telling that it is a self-sustaining economy all the time. He never mentioned that he should give away all these things to some other persons. He was mentioning, of course, all welfare activities for the destitute people, for the people who are doing some activity in the Vedic knowledge, and other Brahmins, those persons, other activities as mentioned. But at the same time, he was always mentioning that it should be self-sustaining only all the time. You should not take anything from the treasury for these welfare activities and maintain the debt. That is not the idea of Kautilya Shastra. And always he was mentioning that a regular audit should be there for each and every economic activity. And each and every single economic activity cannot be handled by a single person. It should be handled by different persons. All activities should not be known to any one person like that. And the whistleblowers always he was promoting. And the deterrent punishment also he was telling for different embezzlement and other misappropriation purposes, deterrent punishment. and secret testing of all these adhyakshas and also secret testing of all these activities. All these is are inbuilt in the financial administration that is done by Kautilya. Spies are also, again, we are having covert agents, those who are becoming coming as ordinary citizens, consumers, that is called covert agents. Double agents. Double agents means officials who are working in the same department at the same time reporting back to the king, and special investigators. Those type of persons will be there. They will be conducting the inquiries, reporting back to the king and the kingdom, and king will be giving deterrent punishment. And over and above, king only finance he will be collecting, whether he is doing any economic activities. Means king was also doing economic activities like agricultural development he was doing, irrigation of projects, he was maintaining the irrigation of projects. And the seed distribution is also mentioned by Kautilya in 3 or 4 places he has mentioned. And any technical assistance is required by the farmers, that is also given by experts. Those persons will be giving and will be coming and giving the technical expertise. This agricultural development is one of the people activity. And trade promotion he was doing. Trade promotion, how he was doing? He was trade promotion he was doing by way of establishing the marketplaces and standard weighing machines he was putting, so that fraudulent means can be avoided, and facilitating the merchant activity by means of giving them protection. At the same time, he was also doing certain prescribed taxes he has prescribed. Suppose if a trader is coming to this country and doing some trading activity, what is the income that he has derived on that day, how much he has to pay, that is already defined like that. Suppose he also says that if he is actually wanted to misguide the king by means of hiding certain products, what is the penalty is to be imposed for him, that is also mentioned here. Further, secret agents will be overseeing the person. Then the craft production also he is a king will be promoting by supporting artisans and specialized industries, and he will also be doing patronage for infrastructure patronage and all these things. King will be doing these type of activities. And financial crisis, if at all anything comes, what is to be done? Whether it should be borrowed, a temporary tax increase has to be done, or anything can be drawn from the reserves. Any expenditure cut can be made. All these things he has mentioned. Expenditure cut also has mentioned. Suppose any financial emergency is there, even now also, according to Indian Constitution, financial emergency if it is imposed, first thing the government will be doing is that they will cut the salaries of all the employees. That can be done, but never financial emergency is imposed in India. But still, the provision is there. Like that, here also, expenditure cuts is always there in Kautilya's Arthashastra. Economic cuts will be there. So this is remarkably appealing book, wherein diversified tax collections, burdening of taxes, and financial administration, planning, all these things are embedded in Kautilya's financial administration aspect. With this, I would like to conclude today's my lecture and open it for any questions and answers, please.
Okay, I think we'll have to have the question and answer session after the Prardhana. Hope you'll be available.
Fine, sir.
Right, thank you.
Okay,
Babu
sir.
garu? Babu garu? Just a minute. Okay, Babu garu, can I go ahead? Okay, we'll have Prarthana, please. Manisha garu. Yeah.
Yes. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः अपुत्राः पुत्रिणः सन्तु पुत्रिणः सन्तु पौत्रिणः अधना सदना सन्तु जीवन्तु शरदां शतम् सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान् मा प्रमदः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु Babu Garu, this is Sanskrit shloka also you want me to recite?
Not now.
Dhanyavad.
Okay, let's go for Janagana Mana now.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद
Okay. Okay, continue.
యా పద్మావతి గారు
హరి ఓం నమస్కారం గురువు గారు.
అడగండి.
సీతాధ్యక్ష సువర్ణాధ్యక్ష కుట్యాధ్యక్ష ఇవన్నీ అర్థమయ్యాయండి. స్టార్టింగ్ క్లాస్ లో బి అనే ఫ్లవర్ అని గురువు గారు ఏదో చెప్పారండి, అది నాకు అర్థం కాలేదండి.
ఏదండి మళ్ళీ చెప్పండి.
క్లాసు స్టార్టింగ్ లోను బి అనే ఫ్లవర్ అని చెప్పారు. ఎక్కడంటే కింగ్ ఈజ్ నాట్ కలెక్టింగ్ ది ట్యాక్సెస్, కలెక్షన్ ఆఫ్ ట్యాక్సెస్ కంపల్సరీ, కలెక్ట్ ది ట్యాక్సెస్ ఈజ్ అపాయింటింగ్ సమ్ పర్సన్స్ అని చెప్పేసి తర్వాత బి అనే ఫ్లవర్ అని చెప్పారండి. అది
bee and a flower means here implication is that bee will be coming, honey bee will be coming and extract the honey from the flower. When it is extracting the flower, it will not disturb the beauty of the flower. It will keep the flower intact. So for that shloka is there, which I have not written down here. What he is supposed to do is that, like the bee collecting the honey from the rose without destroying the rose, the beauty of the rose. Similarly, the king has to collect tax from the people without disturbing their what is called activities. They should not feel the pinch of that activity. They should be happy to pay the tax. At the same time, they will not become pauper. They will be all right. Their economic status will be all right, intact. But at the same time, he has to collect the tax in that fashion. Like a bee collecting the tax, honey. He has to collect. That is the idea, madam, here.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, ధన్యవాదాలు.
Yes, madam. Because normally చూస్తుంటాం కదా మనం ఫ్లవర్ మీద కూర్చున్నటువంటిది ఫ్లవర్ ని డిస్ట్రాయ్ చేయదు కదా, అలాగే కింగ్ ఇతన్ని డిస్ట్రాయ్ చేయడు అంతే మేడం.
Okay, the other question is, were any persons appointed for education and health?
For education, it is actually Adhyasha is not there. No Adhyasha is mentioned. Health, it is mentioned. Health, there is one person who is in charge of the medical superintendent, it is mentioned. Medical superintendent, he has mentioned. The medical superintendent is to oversee the entire activity relating to the health of the people. Health of the people means if any epidemic is there or any other activity is there, government intervention is required. So here there is no taxes are anticipated, no tax, because we are discussing financial administration today. That is why I did not discuss this particular aspect. Education also not discussed. Education, what he is mentioning is that the persons who are actually doing the Gurukula activities and also who are doing promotion of education, those type of persons will not be taxed. Only to that extent it is mentioned. There is no education department as such is not there.
Okay. What is Kautilya's concept of welfare state?
Kautilya's concept of welfare state, today we have discussed in a systematic fashion. We discussed welfare state is actually promoting the welfare of the people by not pinching their purses. That is one aspect. Second aspect is that he is actually foreseeing. He is saying that if any person is in difficulty, the what is called destitute ladies, children, and all these persons, supportive succor has to be given by the king. That is also mentioned. And he has to ensure that in case of difficulties, calamities, king, it is the responsibility of the king to provide different types of things to all the people. That is also mentioned. And this type of welfare activities he has mentioned.
Okay, sir. Srihari garu?
Sir, good morning, sir. Sir, in this Kostagara Jaksha and in the case of Sita Jaksha, like that we have discussed, and in that system, any agri produce that was assessed and will be taxed, like that it was told, no, sir. And if such any support system is there, support pricing system is there. Presently, we are facing like in tomato, if at any high produce comes, then the farmers are throwing on the roads. And if it, the produce is less, and that price will be very high, it shoots up to even 100, 200 like that. Like in our case, no support system for some of the products. Whether any support price, selling price is there in that financial planning of Kautilya, sir?
That is not there, sir. That is not mentioned. Each and every product, whether he is fixing the prices or not there, it is not mentioned to that deep extent.
But they will collect the tax.
They will collect the tax. They will collect the tax, and broadly it is mentioned that the prices of all items are fixed. To that extent only it is there. Each individual item, it is not there. Prices of each and every item, it is fixed or not, we don't know. But it is generally mentioned that prices are fixed by the government depending upon the demand and supply. That is mentioned. Beyond that, person is not supposed to sell. If he is selling beyond that rate, and he will be penalized. And it is difficult to maintain because given the times in those days, maybe even now also it is difficult to do that activities. But even the simple tomato also different qualities will be coming. You cannot put what is called exact rate for each and every item. In those days, it is difficult. Maybe some standard items will be there. Those type of things. This may be there. We don't know. But generally, it is
there.
Yes, sir.
Problem was there that time also.
It was there, sir. It was there. He anticipated that problem. Tried to give some administrative, what is called curative measures. But maybe I don't know how it was working. We don't know.
Okay. Sir, one more point, sir. This census collection of this census. Any system was there, sir, that time?
No, sir. It is not mentioned. Collection of census is not. It is not mentioned. Census is not mentioned in Artha Shastra.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Population measurement. It's not there.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Okay, Sitaramurthy garu.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, sir.
Today there is a lot of discussion on taxation, freebies, uchitalu అనేకమైనటువంటి గవర్నమెంట్ ఇస్తుంది. There is a lot of discussion and debate on development and welfare. So what is important? So what are the Kautilya's principles of public expenditure? Public expenditure లో ఆయన చెప్పిన ప్రిన్సిపల్స్ ఏంటి?
Public
మన
expenditure.
కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ లో కూడా ఎకనామిక్ ఎఫిషియన్సీని బట్టి, ఆర్థిక సామర్థ్యాన్ని బట్టి గవర్నమెంట్ సంక్షేమ పథకాలు ఇవ్వాలి అని చెప్పాడు. అండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ స్టేజ్ ని బట్టి కూడా ఇవ్వాలని చెప్పారు. ఇవేం కన్సిడరేషన్ లోకి తీసుకోకుండా ఈవేళ వాళ్ళు ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు ఉచిత పథకాలు ఇస్తున్నారు. ట్యాక్సులు పే చేసే వాళ్ళు కూడా గోల్ చేస్తున్నారు. ట్యాక్సులు మేము కడుతున్నాం, మాకు కట్టినటువంటి ట్యాక్సులు
The
మీరు
question has to be in English, please. Have the question in English so that everyone can understand. And now it has been understood. I think Nagaraja Rogar can explain. Yeah.
Yes, sir, that is okay. Here, the question was actually the welfare activities purpose, the expenses for the welfare activities. So normally he says that in the question he says that it cannot be freebies cannot be given. If freebies are going on to be given, what will happen? The economic developmental activities will come into halt. That should not be there. So what is Kautilya Sarthashastra, what it is mentioning? Kautilya always he says that you are not supposed to, one thing what he is mentioning is that you need to spend only for those purposes which is going to give income in future. That is one basic principle. In those activities only he has to spend. Even if he is giving some free doles, the free doles are only restricted to only certain people only, not all people. It is not based on caste, religion, and all these things are not coming into the picture here. Caste-based giving of freebies was not anticipated in Kautilya's time. What he was mentioning is that those who are in need, maybe any caste for that matter, all those persons, of course he has not mentioned about caste and all these things, because all these things have come in the later stage only in the system. Those days he was mentioning that those who cannot afford to earn money, those only elder people who are not having any issues, children are not there for those persons. And the people without husbands, those persons who are not, don't have any other income, those type of persons, the government has to feed those type of persons in a reasonable fashion. That is the only idea he has given. Beyond that, how they should be fed, it is not mentioned again. Whether free canteens are to be opened and all these things are not mentioned. But of course, some sort of mechanism must be there, which is not specifically mentioned in Kautilya Sarthashastra. So these are the people only eligible for taking freebies. The rest of the persons basing on caste, religion, and all these things, nothing is anticipated. But nowadays, the question has come like that. Nowadays, we are giving means it is electoral politics is playing, In those days, electoral politics is not there. King need not depend on the people. King is an independent entity who is in charge of the entire administration, and he has to take care of those persons. And beyond that, these persons are not going to elect him. Election is not there. If election is there, he also must have done all these things, but it is not there. So because of this reason, we are doing this type of activity. Then one more thing is that development and this freebies. And freebies, if you go on giving, development may not be there as good as we anticipate. That is why Kautilya always says that it is sustainable economy. Whenever you are giving something means the system should sustain it. If system is not sustaining it, it is not possible as good as that. So no, what is called deficit budgets are not anticipated in Kautilya Sarthashastra. Deficit budget is not actually promoted also. In fact, it is frowned upon. Deficit budget should not be there at any point of time. In case of calamities and any war, any expenditure is there, untoward expenditure is there, you take something from the rich merchants and other people only, and then return back only. Then beyond that, you are not going to you are not supposed to exceed the limits of your income. Income should be sufficient enough to meet the expenses. Beyond that, expenses should not be there. If income is not there, sometimes even developmental activities also get started, what is called halted. That is why tax base is very much high, and he has each and every economic activity he is foreseeing, and everywhere he is collecting the tax. And taxes are also very high only. High penalties are very, very high. You believe it or not, for any person who is going to exceed the rule and violation, minimum penalty itself is 1,000 tankas only. Initially, it's in initial stage itself. If he cannot pay, what he has to do? If he cannot pay, he has to work as a laborer for some days for the government, and he has to redeem the debt. Like that only it is mentioned. Because a strict rule, wherein penalties are, the fear of penalty is always there for the people. And because of this reason, administration was smooth. And that to that extent we can say. No debt economy. Nowhere it is a debt economy. It should run like that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Savita Shastri garu, you can ask your question. Savita Shastri garu.
Namaste, Mahodaya.
Yeah.
No, I was just asking, you were mentioning about that mandalas and all in the previous class. Today, what you explained covers the mandala, or is it anything different?
Mandala is actually a foreign policy. Mandala Yonihi, that one is actually a foreign policy. The foreign policy is designed again for the purpose of internal purposes only. Because if king is going to wage a war with other king, then Vishigishu, we call him, when he wages wars with other countries and acquire the land, the Kautilya idea was that more and more land means more and more resources will be there. Then he will be expecting the people to do both enterprise and also labor in that particular area and promote economic income of and the prosperity of the entire country. The prosperity is there, the entire kingdom will flourish, and the kosha will be full always. It cannot be empty. It will be always full. That is the reason why this king has to take an expeditions. When he is going for an expedition, how he has to behave. For that purpose, this mandala theory is designed. Who is our Shetru and who is our Mitra, that he should know. Who is Mitra, who is friend and who is enemy. That he should know it. And then Mitra also he should know. Enemies Mitra also he should know. Enemies Mitra also he should know. And Mitras enemy also he should know. Like that, in the front side, 5% strengths and weaknesses he should know. And the back side, 4% strengths and weaknesses are to be anticipated. And each and every kingdom will be having, as I told in the beginning, some what is called Janapada will be there, Kosha will be there, Sainya will be there, like that. What is Saptanga theory? No? In the Saptanga theories, leaving a king aside, 6 sanghas will be there. Each 6 sanghas will be having strengths and powers. So he has to assess 5 kings ahead and 4 kings backside, total 9 kings. And 9 kings means 9 kingdoms. In 9 kingdoms, strengths will be 6 strengths will be there, and the 6 strengths each, and that he has to take out, count it, and then what he has to do is that the total strength of each and every kingdom. That is called nowadays SWOT theory. We tell what are the strengths of the kingdom, what are the weaknesses of the kingdom, what are the opportunities the king is having nowadays, because whether the king is Vyasarapara, can we do any inflict any injury for him, like that. All this is has to take into consideration, and his intelligence is such that he should have the knowledge of all this is all the time. That is the idea, madam. That is mandala theory is actually a foreign policy designed for the purpose of getting more and more income for the country. That is the idea.
Right. Thank you.
Dhanyavada, Mahodaya. Very informative class. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Lakshmi garu, Lakshmi Khanapur garu.
Yes, sir. Namaste, Mahodaya.
Namaste, madam.
My one question is, like in those days, was there the prevalence of democracy and republican government? And how were the policies in
Yes.
Kautilya's service?
Yes, madam.
Was it? Yes.
Democracy as such was not envisaged by democracy in the present day meaning is not envisaged by Kautilya.
Okay.
Republics were very much there. Republics were Ganaraja, Ganatantra Rajas, they used to be.
Yeah.
Small Ganas used to be there in and around, and all those is Kautilya says that those things are to be actually taken away by the king. King has to wage a war and he has to subjugate them and he has to take it out. That is Kautilya wants to do. He does not want to promote independent kingdoms. Independent kingdoms, whatever may be the size, but they were there. They are mentioned also in Kautilya's Artha and Megasthenes writings. Also, we find that at the time of Kautilya, that is called in the 3rd century BC, independent entities were there, which are actually administered separately. Ganarajas, Ganatantra Rajas, they used to be called. They are actually they were prevalent. That we can come across from different other historical sources. Also, we find that we find them, particularly Chola period. Chola period in 1st and 2nd century AD. There, then itself, Ganatantra Rajas used to be there, which are entirely independent from the kingdom, and also at the same time they will be having this village administration also very much prominent. Chola village administration is very important aspect. And Shasana also is now it is available now from where it is, how the functioning of the entire village is administered like that. But one thing we have to take note is that this entire village, even though it is administered on its own, it is again under the purview of the king only. So king
Okay.
will be there at the apex system, and he will be doing all other activities, collection of taxes and all these things will be there. But at the same time,
Okay.
the villagers are given more and more importance. That those type of things Kautilya also allowed. But independent entities he never allowed.
Rules.
Yes.
Okay. ధన్యవాదాలు. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other person who wants to have a question? Babu Garu, I think the questions are over.
Okay,
Babu Garu, yeah,
I'll stop the recording.
yeah.